Yes, especially if Buhari wins
Well,
re-election.
should have. He came in 2014.
Yeah, around
14.
mid.
He came in 2014.
Yeah. Do you know what I found? Do you remember us signing a deal? I was just looking up old China news. We signed a $23 billion deal in 2010 for them to build 3 refineries for us. Do you remember that?
The final deal is nothing. Let me MOU. You know how many we've signed? MOU is the easiest thing to sign.
Quick teller.
Oh my god.
Everyday payments
Okay,
made
let me
easy.
sign MOUs.
With critical focus on the Nigerian economy.
So you're taking the
We
bag.
see the big
Yeah, that'll be. Well, Fidelity will be last.
Mics are up.
Oh, okay.
You know you're listening to Smooth 91 FM, and that's here in Lagos. We're live on Business Express with Rotus. Good morning, Rotus.
Good morning, Valentine. I love how you said that here in Lagos. Where else would we be?
I mean, it's only one place. Huh?
Exactly.
Hi, Feyi. Feyi is joining us this morning, an analysis. Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good
Feyi
to have
of
you.
ARM, yes,
Ugo
yes,
Dre,
yes.
good to see you today.
Morning, bro. How are you?
Very well.
Good.
What's up in business, Rotus?
Oh, look, we're
Money is
talking.
being made.
Yes, exactly. That's the main thing. It's money, money, money. Money Monday. Money Monday. Lagos. Also, are we hopping in, or we're telling folks Twitter, all that good stuff?
So the good stuff is in the bouquet. We have WhatsApp. The WhatsApp number is 0809 444 0981. That's 0809 444 0981. On YouTube, we're live. Is youtube.com/smooth91fm Lagos. The same handle, smooth91fm, is on Twitter. Use the hashtag BusinessExpress91.
Thank you, sir. So real quick, all share index on Friday, 0.27% appreciation. Very marginal stuff. 41,218 points. Market cap is at 14.9 trillion naira. Last week on week, the market was down by 0.06%. So far this year, we're still up by 7.7%. 26 gainers, 22 losers. International Breweries was our top gainer, up by 9%. 11 PLC was down by 4.9%. That was our top loser. We're still at 362 naira to the dollar. So we're going to kick things off with this this currency swap deal that has finally been signed between Nigeria and China. Feyi, why don't you help us out here? Let's break this thing down, because there's so much going on here. We've been the Twitter sphere has been going on and on about this. But what is the gist of this currency swap deal? What is a currency swap? What's happening here?
So a currency swap is when two parties. So the first party swaps his currency with the other party.
Okay.
While the other party receives the counterparty's currency. So it's two countries swapping their currency. So, and just as you mentioned, it just concluded the swap deal worth $2.4 billion dollars.
Okay.
And it's for a 3-year period. And with the possibility of an extension after it expires. So what is going to happen is that the two central banks will swap their local currency. Nigeria will receive 16 billion renminbi, which is the Chinese currency in our reserves, while China will receive 720 billion naira in their reserves. So, and this is actually something that wasn't conceived now. It has been in the works since 2016.
Right.
If you remember, in that year we were sort of in a currency crisis, so we needed something to reduce the demand pressure in dollars. And what Buhari did was to meet with China to see a possible currency swap agreement. And China, because they've entered into this sort of agreement with so many countries before, and it's one of our major trading partners. We import a lot from China, so it makes sense to sort of move to get the renminbi and move pressure over there, so that the dollars can be used for other things, and we can also build our reserves. But it just got concluded right now. I guess they were still negotiating. That's why it wasn't concluded then.
So how does it work? If you're a how's it going to work? If you're an importer,
so if you're an importer and you want the renminbi, you can just walk into one of the approved banks. I believe First Bank, Zenith, Stanbic, Standard Chartered, they've been approved for this transaction. So you walk into one of these banks, you apply for the renminbi,
okay,
and then you can use that to make your payment, make payment for your import from China.
That you want to bring in.
So that eliminates all the hassle of getting the naira, converting the naira to dollars, and then going over to China, converting the dollars back to renminbi. It eliminates all that in between. So you're getting the renminbi directly, and you're using that to make payment for your imports. But the challenge is just that this deal is for $2.4 billion, which is very small when you compare it to the trade we do with China on an annual basis. So Nigerian imports from China is around $6 billion dollars annually, and this deal is for $2.4 billion dollars. So it's basically a drop in the ocean. And this moderation in demand pressure we're talking about is not going to be something that will be long lasting, to be for a short period of time, because I believe once it's implemented, it's going to be exhausted in a couple of months. It's just very small when you compare to 6 billion, so I believe to be exhausted in a couple of months. So we might not see that moderation, that long lasting moderation in the dollar that the CBN is expecting from this deal.
Okay. Ugo Dre, are there any? What are your thoughts? Let me first of all, this thing took. I had to go back to my Business Express notes from 2016, and I had this story. Yeah, it's been there for a while, and I think we touched on this 2 years ago when this was first announced. So it took this long for them to finally sign this. What Feyi has just touched on. What are your thoughts on the amounts as far as impact, and where do you see? How far do you see this going?
Okay, first of all, simple definition as well is the swap just means no dollars.
Right.
So
Okay.
because usually when you're buying, when you're changing foreign currency, you have to convert first to the dollars, and then before you convert to the other currency that you want to that you actually need. So, but with a swap, you don't need the middleman, which is the dollar. So if you think of a middleman in any transaction, middleman typifies a bit more cost for you, so that middleman is basically gone. So that is first of all the first benefit, the key benefit of a currency swap deal. So traders no longer need to convert to dollars and then convert to the renminbi. So, and that conversion is where you actually have a bit of risk, right, on both sides. So for Nigerians who import typically from China, maybe import raw materials, trade goods that are imported for trade, you don't need to go through the route of the dollars, just import renminbi. A bit of advantages here. Nigeria-China trade, I think Q4 was about 1.2 or so billion dollars. Just like she said, about roughly $6 billion or thereabout annually, compared to the 2.4 billion or so, and that this deal is what. But this is not the first country China is doing a swap deal with. China basically exports to the world,
right?
So it's in their best interest as well that they have deals like this in place, so that their exporters can actually continue to export stuff around the world. But for Nigerians, another plus side is that I guess there's been this argument of whether this is actually going to help the exchange rate or not.
Right.
Look, to me, so long as you have lower demand pressures on the exchange rate on the dollar, right, there is always going to be an advantage.
Okay.
Right, at least in terms of strengthening the exchange rate between naira and the dollar, which is actually very key. So, and because China is Nigeria's top import country, China basically tops the list of countries. In fact, I think we import 5 times more from China than we export to them.
Right.
So it's important that you have this kind of deal on the side. So what that means is that rather than have a lot of naira chase dollars, you're having a lot more naira now chasing the renminbi. So that to an extent should give us a little bit of buffer. Probably a drop in the ocean, but at least better than nothing.
Okay, I'm glad you just mentioned something. You said we import about 5 times as much as we export to China. So that's a trade imbalance. That's a
heavy trade
imbalance, right?
A very heavy trade imbalance.
So I'll put this out there. Who is benefiting from this deal?
Well, I think that both sides will benefit.
Okay.
So you got to look at it this way. If you don't have this deal, who will benefit as well?
Okay.
Right?
I can see
China
that.
is also going to benefit just as Nigeria. So you need to have this deal in place to ensure that at least our traders can actually conclude transactions faster,
right,
at least with their Chinese counterpart. And please, Rotus, don't mix this up. Nigeria depends a lot on China for its raw material import, not just raw material, even technological imports. So a lot of all these GSM companies you see, a lot of the energy related companies, a lot of the software they use are actually imported from China. And to pay for these things, they actually need to source $1. And these things are not cheap.
Right.
1 million, 2 million, 3 million for $10, $15 million.
Right.
So if you have to pay these things in renminbi, then that to an extent gives you a little bit of, and then of course I think there's, though I heard there's going to be a cross rate. The exchange rate they're going to be using will be a cross rate between naira, dollar, and renminbi as well. Not a fixed rate per se. I thought it was a fixed rate. So, but by and large, there's some advantages to Nigeria. And I think we got to understand that.
Okay, I don't want to stretch this thing out some more. There's still a whole lot more ask, but let's move on. Let's talk about Feyi, back to you, Nestle. Yeah, and this story actually comes from Nairametrics. Nestle declares a loss of about 5.8 billion naira on their water factory in Abuja. So what's going on here with Nestle and this factory?
Okay, so so the headline says Nestle declares a loss. So it's not like they declared a loss. In their Q1 result, they actually declared a profit.
Okay.
Just that the profits increased just marginally. It increased by 3%, despite the 10% jump in revenue, and that was due to an impairment loss. So they reported an impairment loss on their water factory in Abuja.
Okay.
It was actually stated in their financial statements. The company mentioned that they were not able to realize the growth and also gain market share in the northern region, in line with what they had expected that the factory would deliver to them. So they had to impair the asset. And the funny thing is that the assets cost them the plants cost them $5.6 billion to construct.
Okay.
And they're taking an impairment loss of 3.4, which is over 50% of the assets.
Ouch.
So
ouch.
That's a lot. I guess they overestimated the northern market, and maybe the income level there is not. Of course, the income level there is not really a part of what you see in the southwest. So I guess people are going for more affordable water than the bottled water, and that's impacted on their market share and also revenue. So they're not really expecting so much from the factory. But they said that the outlook for future expansion is below estimate. So the combination of all that, they had to impair the assets and take an impairment loss of 3.4. So that impacted on earnings for the quarter. If it had not been there, earnings would have improved substantially.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We have a question in from Alabi here on Twitter. He says, what is it with Forte Oil selling its assets and exiting Ghana? Is there fire on the mountain, or is there fire on the mountain?
I want to get to that, but I want to throw a question to Ugo Dre on Nestle real quick, and I'll be trying to get to that in a second. Ugo Dre, you in the Nairametrics, some of the bullet points you guys had here. This was commissioned by the vice president. There was optimism about the jobs it was going to generate, so on and so forth. Is that now? What are we seeing now with the factory for going forward?
Well, just to address the headline, look, it's a loss on the factory, and that's what it is.
Right.
Yeah, not the loss on the bottom line, loss on the factory. And
Okay.
I think it's clearly stated here. Yes, to me, I guess the sour part was that this could have somehow filtered down to profits, and earnings per share might have been way higher than it currently is. For Nestle, where do they go from here? Nestle has a water factory in Agbara already that I think is doing well. This was meant to complement the Agbara water factory, and now they've realized that Prague was a bad deal. It's a very competitive market, the water market. There's a lot of players in there. But I was quite surprised because I thought this was going to be successful in Abuja and at least spread through the north. So I guess that was their plan. And Nestle has this strategic plan where they try to marry business competitiveness with social responsibility. But this hasn't just worked for them. And it's actually good that they actually took an impairment.
It is what it is, yeah? That's business. You win some, you lose some. Yeah. Okay, sorry, we couldn't get to the 40-hour question. Try to address that tomorrow because we've pretty much run out of time. But Ugo Dre of Nairametrics, thank you so much for joining us, and Feyi of ARM.
Yeah, you like Sparky. I'm not looking at me. We discussed it. I'm like, it's show. This guy.
The asset is Ghana.
Yeah, what's before? I mean, see, that's kind of thing. We had the CFO here now. When I talked about it. I heard about that, but I didn't get a chance
to.
I just
heard to their MD. So let me find out what they are trying to do because I was shocked.